All right, Psalm 26, let's call this one the path to becoming a pillar, which is a term that's literally going to come up in the Revelation as Jesus talks to the church at Philadelphia, making a promise that he will make them a pillar in the house of God and they will never be forced out of it. And in this psalm, it's going to talk about two things that David aspires to do, or two things that he has on his list of goals, and that is the goals or ideals he has for his behavior, what he's going to do, and his ideals or his goals for where he will reside. In this psalm that starts off with David asking God to vindicate me, and that is because he's chosen to walk in his integrity in the past. But as we get to the end of the psalm, he is not simply going to say that he has tried to walk in his integrity. He's going to make it clear that that is the purpose that he has for the days ahead. In between, he is going to say that he wants God to vindicate him, not simply because he's David or some sort of favorite, but he's going to ask God to test him and try him and prove him, because like we said, David has set out two goals for himself. One, what he is going to do, and then two, where he would like to reside. Understanding that he starts the do's off with really what he has chosen not to do, and that is, once again, hang around and spend time around people who are dishonest or pretentious. More importantly, he's going to say he actually hates the company of those who are cooking up wicked schemes or evil schemes, making it clear that he likewise doesn't really like being around the wicked. As for what he does, it goes back to something we noticed in the last chapter. He cleans himself up, or he cleans his hands in innocence, but he doesn't simply get dressed up super clean with nowhere to go, because he says in addition to getting cleaned up or cleaning his hands in innocence, he does it for a purpose, because he's got somewhere to go, and that is to the altar of the Lord for the purpose of proclaiming all of the great things that God has done for him. And this is a place where understanding the context of David's life can help us understand the value of what he might have said about God, understanding that he was already famous for being that shepherd boy who had a whole lot of talent, but not a whole lot of clout. And his after picture, if we look at it from the perspective of a before and after, involved being king of Israel. And so when he is proclaiming the great things that God has done for him, he doesn't have to say a whole lot other than, you know who I was, you know where I am right now, and it's because I listened to him. And so when David is getting his now cleaned up, it is quite possibly so that the power of his before and after is not compromised by shady things that he has gotten involved with right now. And so beyond that, he says, more than the things that I do, I have aspirations for where I would like to live, as he is going to say in verse 9, "O Lord, I love the habitation of your house and the place where your glory dwells," as he is going to make an appeal. God, don't evict me. And he doesn't say it exactly that way, but he's going to talk about, please don't sweep me away with those who have probably assumed too much about their ability to be close to you for a moment. Understanding that David is not simply relying on the fact that he has previously walked in his integrity. The end of the psalm, as we've already mentioned, makes it clear that David intends to move with integrity going forward, reminding me of the way in which David seems to appreciate something that we can easily lose track of in our modern conception of home ownership, where we often call ourselves home owners at the point we have closed the deal on a house on which we actually have a mortgage. However, stop paying on that mortgage, and the bank or whoever your lending institution might be will quickly remind you of who actually owns that home. And so when David is asking for God not to evict him or sweep him away with the unrighteous, he appreciates the fact that he does not have a permanent place in God's home until God says he does, reminding me of where we started, where in the Revelation, Jesus, in the letter that he has dictated to the church at Philadelphia, says there is a point at which we can hope, or at least the church at Philadelphia specifically, quite possibly representing Christians or believers or his people in general. There's a point at which we can hope to be made a pillar in the temple of our God, but we aren't a permanent fixture in God's house until he says we are. Something Jesus seems to make clear in Revelation 3, verse 12, where he says, the one who conquers, or some translations will say the one who overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God. Never shall he go out of it. David in Psalm 26 seeming to remind us that until the point at which God makes him a fixture in God's house, he is committed to cleaning himself up, but not idly cleaning himself with nowhere to go. following God in a way that hopefully makes the anointing on his life clear, but moreover, spending the end of the psalm asking God to be gracious to him and once again asking for forgiveness so that his now does not compromise the ability of others to see that moving in integrity is not the stuff of suckers. It's actually the stuff of kings.